What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Wednesday, September 24th, 2025. As always, I'm PK alongside my co-host Phil. Episode 381 for the third attempt. Our behind-the-scenes stuff, we're figuring it out. They updated the system and turned something on, and we didn't know until we already started this 3 times. Third time's the charm. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Stay tuned for that. There might be some new stuff coming to the website soon. As soon as producer Pat starts working on it. I can't give him a hard time because we literally just did this yesterday. Or Monday, I should say, when you're listening to this. But as we do throughout the entire offseason, which, again, still might drag into, and we won't get into it this show. We're going to get into it next show when we have more time. Yes, we're actually busy this episode. Phil, what did you do this last week?
Yeah, I went to a concert on Saturday. I'm wearing the hoodie of said concert.
I was wondering why you were in a hoodie. I'm sweating over here and Phil's sitting in a hoodie.
It's a little warm, but I wanted to wear it. I'm not going to say the name of the band. I want to see if any of our listeners, maybe we'll throw a screenshot out, can guess it by the hoodie and the fact that it was in Toronto on Saturday. So that was a lot of fun. We went out to dinner beforehand. Oh, we got a question.
No, I know the answer. Am I allowed to answer? I'm listening.
You are not allowed to answer. Sorry. You're a co-host, not a listener. But no, it was a good time. Concert was really good. It was really windy and cold, which is one of the reasons I bought the hoodie. Wanted it anyway, but I was happy to have it. Great concert, though. And then on Sunday, it was my father-in-law's birthday. So they came up, and we went antiquing and had some dinner with them and just kind of a chill Sunday afternoon. And then yesterday, as you already alluded to, we did some stuff for behind the scenes that we'll get to when Pat can get to it with some fun editing that we will eventually share. But that was why I had going on.
Should I put the deadline out there so he's forced to do this?
I mean, I don't know if he'll care about it.
He probably won't care. We're hoping to have this out by October. Beginning of October, theoretically, and that's a week. He's got a week to get this done. Yeah, good luck. One follow-up question.
Sure.
Did you get anything while antiquing?
I don't know if anyone knows about my random collection of these. We did find another firebomb to add to my collection. This is probably the best one I've ever seen, and it was kind of funny. The place we were at, Ashley and I, my wife, were talking about the firebombs in this little booth that we were, like, one of the sections we were walking past, and we were like, oh, like, this is one of the spots we found. It was at that antique store, but not at that booth, and we walked in and out of that booth, and then my mother-in-law came back through, and she was like, hey, did you guys see this firebomb on the wall? And we were like, no. We both walked right past it, didn't see it at all, and it ended up being a really, really good one. For those who don't know, super quick random thing, it's a little jar of water. They're usually red. They're in a little holder. It looks kind of like a little bit of a grenade, and they're called firebombs. And back in the day, they would actively throw them at fires, and the glass would explode, and the water would go everywhere in the hopes of putting them out. I can't imagine it ever did very well, but they're really cool antiques, and they're weirdly rare and kind of fun to have.
Phil is stocked up. If you ever have a fire, call Phil.
I have. Yeah. I will come over and just chuck a glass bulb of water at your house.
I guess
and
you
then run away. Be like,
firebomb.
all right, good luck.
Yeah, firebomb probably sounds different nowadays than it did back then.
That's true. Yeah, it is to put out a fire is what it is.
Now, I'm not actually going to go firebomb. Neither is Phil. Maybe he won't. I don't know. I can't speak for Phil. But yeah, me and my wife also like antiquing. I collect scales. It's a weird kind of thing, but
I don't think I knew that about you.
I'm the same way that even if you're on the lookout for something, you tend to miss it. And that's part of the reason why I like antiquing, because you can go to the same thing like 5 different times, and even if they don't really change anything, you're finding things brand new the second time. Yeah, we're old.
We're both about 600 years.
Yeah, 600, like antiquing. It's kind of weird. Let's see. Sunday, my sister hosted the family dinner, played Mario Kart. They had 4 controllers. Growing up, we only had 2. So 4 screens on a very fuzzy thing. And then my brother was the fourth controller the first round, and we realized it wouldn't let you turn left. Like, it would overcompensate, and then you would overcompensate, and it would just spin you out. Like, if you're hitting too many turns quick, it spins you out, Mario Kart. This one would constantly do it, so I took over that controller for the rest of the time. I won 2 or 3 races. I never came in last with it after the first race.
Impressive.
Once you got adjusted to it, you couldn't go back. Like, I did one race with a normal controller, couldn't do it anymore. I had to, like, adjust to the adjustment, but there wasn't much competition, if I'm being honest. Let's see. Friday we went to the Bisons game because we haven't gone to a Bisons game yet this year, and it was the last series. Went for the bobblehead night, Goo Goo Dolls bobblehead night. I do like the Goo Goo Dolls. It was a very... I shouldn't say it was. It is a very good bobblehead. Very well made. The details on it, it's pretty stinking heavy. It's a good bobblehead. Brooke learned that she knew a lot more Goo Goo Dolls songs than I think she thought she did. She's like, they were from around here? I was like, yeah, they're Buffalo. Their first music video was actually filmed right where you're sitting right now. So that was fun. Went to the casino, won like $15 with the free casino money. So there it is. It's worth it. Disc golf tournament with our friend Mikey P on Sunday. Came in 4th. Had a chance to come in 2nd. We were tied with 7 holes to go for 2nd. And then we fell 1 back. Another team played even the rest of the way. Another team went 3 under. It was a stupid tournament because you could buy mulligans for $1. So you get to reshoot your shot. And we got all the way to hole... It was 27 holes. We got to like hole 20 before we used one. Didn't capitalize on it. Then we used another one, didn't capitalize on it. And then the very last hole, we were like, okay, we need to birdie this. We both used a mulligan, missed. So our final score was our final score. We might have used mulligans, but they didn't count. So we had a legit...
score was your final score.
Our final score was our final score. No
minus
adjustments.
$4, though.
Yeah. And then last Thursday was mine and the wife's 4th anniversary. We made it 4 years. Shocking. She's still putting up with me. But the only thing we did, we're not a big, like, gift giving type of thing. Like Valentine's Day, we don't celebrate at Christmas. We don't get each other anything. Birthday is really her thing. We'd go all out for her birthday, my birthday. I don't like attention, so I don't do anything with it.
Yeah, you have
what
a
she
podcast.
Wanted for I do a podcast. The only thing she wanted for the anniversary was me to cook. Because I can't cook. Phil can attest to this. He lived with me for, a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. I messed up instant potatoes. Yeah, I screwed that up.
Your go-to meal was buttered noodles.
You were like, oh man, he's cooking the one time. I think we've told this story. And you asked me what I was making. I'm like, buttered noodles. And the pure joy that I was cooking something disappeared so quickly into such disappointment. But I found a recipe. I went out and got my own ingredients. I asked for no help. I got 0 help. The only thing she says I screwed up was I poured too many noodles into the pot than the recipe called for, and I didn't adjust to the other stuff, so it didn't have a strong enough flavor, but she said everything else tasted really good, and she ate the leftovers. That's the biggest key. If you eat the leftovers, it was pretty good. And just the other day, I think it was Monday, she made it again, but she made it. So I found a good recipe. I'm going to pat myself on the back for that. So I did good.
I'm proud of you. I'm very proud of you.
I'll never do it again. It took too long. I don't like cooking. I don't know how people do it. I followed the recipe word for word. Brooke was yelling at me. She goes, why are you doing it word for word? I'm like, shut it. I'm cooking it right. And I did okay.
That's the biggest thing is like when you find a recipe that your wife likes, then they're going to ask for it all the time. And you're like, oh, this was a mistake.
I told her it was a one-off. I'm never doing it again. I do all the other cleaning, the manual labor, everything else. I can't cook. Like, it's not you're the woman, I'm the man type of thing. Like, it's not that. It's I literally can't cook for himself either. I ate frozen pizzas every night. That's how I survived until Brooke came along. But another team that did survive, as we're almost 10 minutes into this one already, Bills. Yes, I know it's already a week old, but again, it's our show. We can do what we want. Bills, 31-21 victory. Allen, 3 touchdowns. Thank you. Led me to a fantasy victory after a week where you led me to a fantasy loss. James Cook also took over. Kincaid was great. Shakir scored. And Tua, this is why when they paid him, I was so happy they paid him because he is not a franchise quarterback. When the time came, he threw the interception. Achane, very involved, did very little. Hill, very involved, did very little. Waddle, same thing. Phil, what did you think of the game a week later?
It was grosser than I wanted it to be, closer than I wanted it to be. It wasn't nerve-wracking, but until that final interception, I was like, okay, finally, like we can settle down. And like it was more tense than it should be for a team that is clearly superior than the other. These games annoy me in the fact that, this is something we already talked about, that to me, the Bills, every single game, need to be continuing to get better at everything across the board and need to be a well-oiled machine by the time it comes to playoffs. And it's these games that, like, you should be able to crush Miami and leave them in the dust and not look back and just kind of stomp them. And then when it's this close, this late in the game, I never really had that feeling of, oh, they're going to lose or they're going to blow it. Like I felt pretty confident they were going to pull it out no matter what. But this kind of game, it feels like a game that they should have flawless execution, both sides of the ball, go in, get a solid victory and leave. And it was much messier than I would have liked to see, especially after, again, the Jets game that they just had was fantastic. Like that's the kind of game I was hoping for this game. Like, okay, you went in, defense was great, offense was great, everything worked, you won pretty easily. Like that's the game you should have against another inferior team in Miami. I know it's divisional. Yes, you can have some problems, but the problems they were having were concerning, which was third down defense. Like I don't understand what was happening most of the game with the third down defense. It was horrible, and it was on plays that they absolutely had no reason letting go. And those are the plays that against Miami aren't going to matter. Against a real team, that's the difference in the game, allowing that kind of third down. And that's why it's frustrating in a game like this. Like those are the kind of things you need to clean up in an easier game like this. So when you go up against Baltimore again, you go up against KC, the Eagles, those plays don't happen. Like it's just frustrating to see in this kind of game. Yes, it's the NFL. Everyone's pretty good. Like it's not like Miami's just a walkover team, even though I'm kind of saying they are, but it's still a good team, but the slip-ups they had were just kind of frustrating to see.
Yeah, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because it is a divisional game. It is a Thursday night game, so it's a quick turnaround. They did get the win in the end.
Easily, yeah.
I'm okay with these type of games in the regular season because, as we've said multiple times on this podcast, dating back years, I don't really care what they do in the regular season. It comes down to can you execute in the playoffs, and they haven't been able to do that. So if they get the win, they get the win. The number one seed's up for grabs. We'll go over that in a second.
Sure
but
is.
I thought, there were some good things that happened. There were some bad things that happened, and I got more negatives than positives in this one, obviously. And it's been a week, so I'm not going to get into too much detail because everybody else has already talked this game to death. Allen's flipped Spencer Hawes. Unbelievable. It's vintage Allen. Beautiful. I was like, run this in. What are you doing? Oh, wait, passing touchdown, still good enough. Okay, I'll take it. Vintage Allen, absolutely loved it. All the defenders converged to him, and Spencer Hawes was right there. He's turning into not just an elite blocker, but somebody that can be relied upon in the game, and I would like to see his role keep expanding and maybe give less snaps to a Dawson Knox type of player. Dalton Kincaid, another horrible drop, this time in the end zone. I mean, Allen couldn't have put that ball in a better spot. You got to come up with that. It's plain and simple. Offense in the second half, it just didn't look right. They went away from the run game for some reason. I know I was more in favor of that because I have Josh Allen in fantasy, but again, I'm not trying not to talk fantasy as much. But when you have Josh Allen, it's I said before the season started, I'm like, this is going to be a fun season. I always root for Allen. I've never had a Bills player at all because I hate doing it, but Allen was sitting there. Anyways, they went away from the run game. James Cook was shredding them, and I don't know why they kind of went away from it, but Miami was giving Buffalo breaks, and I think that's another reason why Buffalo ended up with 31 points. Everybody's saying you still scored 31 points. They ran into the kicker. They tackled Allen for no reason on a very bad first down call. Don't know why. He gave him a second opportunity to get that touchdown. Miami cost themselves this game, in my opinion, rather than Buffalo go out and win it. And even if Miami isn't costing themselves, I still think Buffalo would have ended up with a victory here. It's just Miami made this so much easier and didn't put any pressure on Buffalo. On defense, I thought this was Terrell Bernard's best game of the season by far. Not just because of the pick, but he was all over the field making big tackles. He was everywhere. That was the vintage Terrell Bernard that you want. And with Matt Milano not there, that's the type of player you need to have players step up like that. Third down defense, like you already said, before half, I mean, there were 3 big, long 3rd and longs that they got. This was the first time this regular season that they struggled on 3rd down. You saw what they did against the Jets. And I know Sean McDermott kind of twisted this by saying, hey, yes, we struggled on 3rd down, but look at how many 3rd down opportunities they got. That means we were forcing them to get to 3rd down. Now we just got to slow it down. That's kind of like polishing a turd. That's polishing a turd. I thought Tre'Davious White looked slower in this one. I'm not saying turn to Dorian Strong, but the first opportunity that Max Hairston's ready, I think you need to start splitting those carries. And by playoffs, I would like to see Hairston as the starter rather than Trey White.
Yep.
And Trey would be a good fallback option if one of them struggles or gets hurt. The last bit, I was on record for the longest time. You do not pay good players because once you keep paying good players, you don't have the money to afford great players. Gregory Rousseau is a good player. Not knocking him. But to me, that money would have been well spent elsewhere. And yes, it's only 20, and I think WGR was saying it Tuesday morning. You aren't paying Gregory Rousseau the $40 million, so you're paying him $20 million and expecting half the results. I would have just rather pocketed that money, spent it elsewhere to get better elsewhere. Joey Bosa has been outplaying him like crazy, and he's making half the amount of money that Gregory Rousseau is making. So Rousseau's got to step up his game. And I'm not just talking number-wise, because you can play an entire game, not put up a numbers, and make a big impact. He's been virtually invisible the first 3 games of the season. He was invisible in the Kansas City game, so that's 4 straight games that I have not noticed Gregory Rousseau at all.
And then Landon Jackson's kind of just chilling.
Yeah, that's going to be tough to get in because he's not really a special teamer, but I think I heard Sean McDermott say he was right on the border of being an active player in that one, but yeah, he's got to start getting your way in there.
Yeah, no, he's got time to go, but like as far as Gregory Rousseau goes, like he's another a high draft pick, 3rd round that, again, like you just said, like yes, it would take longer for him to get going as a rookie. It might take him the whole season, but you just paid a ton of money for a guy who could, by the end of the season, have similar production to a high round draft pick for your team. The other big thing was the offense continues, which is perfectly fine. They're doing a good job of it, but the everybody eats mentality, my goodness, are they doing a ton of that? They truly do not have a 1 on this team, which everybody knows, but even the targets...
I will say with that, real quick, Keon Coleman showed in the Ravens game that he can be when it called upon. So once we get into more stiffer competition where they face the Kansas Cities, and it's kind of tough because we went over their schedule already. We picked them 13-4 for a reason. Once they get more to playoffs and bigger competition where there's needed to step up, it will be interesting if he's able to do that again.
Yeah, it's just the targets are not focused to any one player, which is fine. I mean, if you want to spread it around, that's how you keep defenses on their toes. Everybody kind of shifts in here and there. Elijah Moore, I absolutely love every single time he touches the ball because he acts like he's a rookie who's never caught the ball before, and that was like the greatest single play of NFL history. Every single time he gets a touch, it is just he just gets so psyched and so pumped. Like it was, again, like his very first catch in the NFL, and he's just like, oh my gosh, I did it. Every play he has, and it's very fun to watch.
All I'll say is, Palmer, get a little bit more involved. I said he wouldn't lead in targets or receptions. You're right. You still got 113 yards. Coleman's got 158. So, yeah.
Kincaid's 6 targets look good for me.
Next game, Sunday, 1 p.m. versus New Orleans. Hottest ticket around because it's a 1 o'clock game. Last one in September in that stadium, and the next 1 o'clock game is middle of November. We'll get into a little bit more of that this weekend. Look for a reel coming out soon. But we'll look around the league real quick. Colts 41-20 win over the Titans to move to 3-0. Bengals without Joe Burrow fall 48-10, dropping to 2-1 or 2-1. Steelers big 21-14 win over the Patriots. Talk about a snore fest. They moved to 2-1. Jags 17-10 win over the Texans, dropping Houston to 0-3. Jags 2-1. Chargers, in my opinion, the biggest threat to the number 1 seed. 23-20 win over the Broncos. 3-0 for Chargers. Denver drops to 1-2. Chiefs finally get a win, 22-9 over the New York Giants. They move to 1-2, and the Ravens Monday night fall 38-30 to the Lions, falling to 1-2. The biggest fun story here: Chiefs versus Ravens next week. One of those will walk home with their third loss of the season already, which is insane.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the Bills having to play the Chiefs later and already having the game on the Ravens, this is going to be probably, I know it's extremely early, so
It's massive.
and anything can happen, but this is probably their single best shot that they've had, at least this early in the season, to look at the first seed overall in the AFC and be like, hey, that's obtainable. Like, it used to come down to, okay, we need the Chiefs or Ravens to lose to somebody else. It's not really in the Bills' hands. So right now, obviously, they'd have to go, near undefeated in order to truly get it. But it's pretty much in their hands right now as it stands. Yes, they're going to lose games. They're not going undefeated, but it's pretty interesting to see the Chiefs and Ravens, even at 1-2. Like, yes, one will be 1-3, but to see them 1-2 and the Bills having it over the Ravens already, if they get it over the Chiefs later in the season, they're going to be pretty much in the driver's seat for possibly that number one overall seed. So that'd be very interesting to watch.
So next week we'll go over Bills versus Saints. Till then, good luck in fantasy, and good luck to the Bills this coming weekend. Stay tuned for a reel coming out this weekend as well. Sabres, real quick, preseason started on Monday. They've also got a game going on right now on Tuesday. They got 6 games in the preseason. The last game in the preseason is actually next Friday, the 3rd. Regular season starts Thursday the 9th. So October 8th, we will be doing our 3 bold predictions. I think Phil and I have kind of hinted and talked about this a little bit, but we're changing how we're covering the Sabres moving this season because we don't want to just keep doing the same talking points over and over. So we'll finalize it, but we're either going to talk about them just on the Monday, just on the Friday, once a month, or every other week, something like that, kind of doing a big recap of the Buffalo Sabres until they prove that they're worth talking about. Because, again, we don't want to constantly just berate and negative talk about them because it was boring for us. It's boring for you to listen to. Nobody wants to hear the same repeated patterns over and over and over. You can't polish a turd as much as we did for the last 4 years. And we're just going to slowly adjust to it. And when they turn things around and actually start playing real, legit, fun hockey again, we'll come right back to it. We're right there on the edge to buy back in, but we're not getting hurt again. But before we dive into the part 2 of reliving the past for the Buffalo Bandits, Phil, let's go over our one and only sponsor of the show, Tap That Taproom.
Tap That Taproom is at 363 Delaware Street in Tonawanda, New York. They are Buffalo's first women-owned self-poured bar featuring 30 consistently rotating taps, offering a wide variety of ciders, sours, beers, seltzers, and malt beverages.
So they've been on the show for like 17 or 18 straight months. You should know this by now. But Wednesday the 24th, that's tonight if you're listening to this on Wednesday. If you're listening to this Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and you missed it, don't worry. Next week, same time, 7:30, Geeks Who Drink Trivia. Friday the 26th, it's happy hour, 3 to 7. The entire beer wall is discounted that same day. Stick around all day from 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. DJ Nightlight. They'll be announcing what type of songs they're going to be playing shortly, so stay tuned and check out their Facebook page. They will let you know what is ready for the DJ that night. And then Sunday, 1 p.m., Bills Watch Party, halftime jersey giveaways, and $6 Twisted Tea and Angry Orchard if you're looking for the place to go. And if you don't want to spend a ton of money to go watch the Bills in person, head down to Tap That Taproom. It's free to get in. The volume will be on. You can experience the sounds of the game right there without having to pay a ungodly amount of price tickets, and you might go home with a jersey. So, yeah, that's a fun time. Tap That Taproom. Win-win all around, and you don't have to pay ungodly beer prices because their beer prices are perfect, and you don't have to wait in a line because self-pour bar, you're the bartender. Go up, serve yourself. Find out what else they got coming up. Check out their Facebook page and find out what's on tap and what's on deck. Check out tapthattaproom.com because they have something
for everyone.
I can't get him anymore. He used to be able to stumble. As we mentioned last show, Bandits schedule and the NLL schedule was released last Friday. We're not going to dive into it on this show. Next week, we're going to be diving in, breaking down the entire schedule, along with some comments that Jake Elliott made about the CBA. So if you're waiting for that, you're going to have to wait another week. That's when we're going to be talking about that, because we're into part 2 of reliving the past with the Buffalo Bandits. Last week, We saw them miss the playoffs and draft Ian McKay and Matt Gilroy early. We saw the rookie season of Chase Frazier and Josh Byrne. Then they lose to Calgary in the finals. They start off 7-4, and then the canceled season. And then the full canceled season, we went over that. They signed Kyle Buchanan. The season before that, I already missed it. Matt Vince comes into town. And then we wrap it up. They lose to Colorado on home turf to lose their second straight finals. We're into the good parts now. Part 2, we're going to be talking about the three-peat. The 2022-23 season, they went 14-4. 215 goals for, which was good for 11.94 goals for, and 191 goals against, 10.61 goals against. Phil, this was the season that we were kind of talking, okay, what does the forward group have to look like? And Las Vegas comes to town, joining the league. Expansion draft. Once again, this is the sixth team to join this league, dating back to when we started last week talking about this. Connor Fields goes to Vegas, gets traded to Rochester. You remember that whole story. Everybody got up in arms. Connor Fields, Chase Frazier, blah, 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 blah. And we went over it back then, why they did what they did. We're not going to dive into it again. But that kind of shook out what happened on the left side of the offense. And we saw the playoffs before. That Connor Fields and Chase Frazier kind of we knocked them a bit by going a little bit quiet in the Colorado one, and that's when we were talking about okay, is this left side exactly what it needs to be, or do you need more of a bruiser? And then the draft comes along, and they reload on the defense, and all three of these players that we'll talk about just in a second here, they are they are the three core pieces and the next wave of the defenders with the Buffalo Bandits. Cam Wires, 13th overall. Dylan Robinson, 14th overall. And Zach Belter, 19th overall. 3 first-round draft picks. They used all three to reshape the defense, bring in more youth, and all of them were integral pieces. Dylan Robinson was integral that season. Cam Wires and Zach Belter, you had to wait another year for them. But it was big moves. I mean, it was clutch moves that shaped what we have seen the last 3 years because of that draft.
Yeah, I feel like Wires and Belter that season did come on strong in the playoffs and kind of help carry the
following
through.
season. They didn't play this season.
Oh, they were off that whole season?
Yeah, it was just Dylan Robinson that came in and played this season.
It was the next. Got you. But yeah, it was a good season. Obviously, 14-4. I correctly predicted, and I will forever remember this, that it was going to be a repeat finals of Bandits in Colorado. Called it preseason, nailed it. Had the Bandits winning, nailed it.
Go listen to that tape.
Will never make a call like that again. I mean, if you just pick the Bandits again, maybe you at least have half of it right. You just got to pick their opponent. But no, it was a really good season. This season, and we talked about it a lot on the last episode, but we'll lead it into this one. I still think that Calgary series, the finals, was kind of their, which we'll talk about in a moment, their version of Albany against the Bandits, where they were there, but I don't think they were really supposed to be there. They had a great season, played really well, made it all the way to the finals, but I think Calgary was just more ready to win that series and that time. The loss to Colorado that season was their, we're here, we're the best, and we know it kind of season, and Colorado came in with their heads down and took it to them, and I think this is the season where you see their mentality as a team really switch and really flip of what they did, and they had the mentality that you have with the Buffalo Bills of the season means nothing. Like, they losing 2 finals, especially when they were quote-unquote back-to-back, yes, they were years apart, but they were still back-to-back. They knew what it took at that point to win. They thought they could just come in that Colorado series, sweep them, Colorado was down, and take care of business and win, and they didn't. And this year seemed to be a completely different mentality. They were so focused, one game at a time, all the way through, all the way to the finals, and it still took to that, magical game 3, but I think that one was just the whole turning tide of, okay, we know what we need to do now in game 3 to win this. It's not going to be handed to us. It's not going to be given to us. And you can just see the whole mentality shifted for this championship. And to me, it started here and obviously carries on, but I don't think their mentality has changed no matter how many they've won, whether it was 1, 2, or now 3. I think they've had the same exact focus and mentality since losing to Colorado in that one series, kind of with that ego that they had that season, I think they have learned to completely wipe that out and learned how difficult it is to win an NLL championship. And now they just have a different drive to them that I think started this year.
What's funny is they even defeated Colorado when Colorado was at their full strength. I mean, they had Ryan Lee, they had McLaughlin, they had Zed Williams, they had Robinson.
It was too easy the year before.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah, it was too simple. But yeah, I mean, this was a turning point type of season, and you're kind of looking at it. They made the big moves. Dietrich goes out and trades Thomas Vason at the early, closer to the deadline for an Adam Bomberry, beefing up the back end, because if I remember correctly, this was a season where their defense was just constantly getting hurt, and you were trying to figure out and mismatch. Okay, how can we keep doing this? And they started the season 0-1, and that was the first year they lose to Albany, and Albany had that struggle of a season. You're like, how do you lose to Albany? And then later in the season they wrap up the Albany, but they go on a 10-1 run after losing that opening series. They finish 3-0, and then round one, 20-8 win over Rochester. The Connor Fields one where we talked about that. Connor Fields, where he was trying to defeat the Giant and going, okay, I can prove that I am a playoff type of player after what we saw the year prior, and they didn't do that. Toronto just wiped the floor with them. I mean, you saw what they did the year before that, where they struggled in 1-goal victories over Toronto, 14-5 win, and then it was a 17-8 win in Toronto. And then you get to Colorado. 13-12 win in game one, 16-10 loss in Colorado, and you're starting to think, oh man, is this going to happen again? And you're looking at players like the Dane Smith. You're 0-2 in the finals. What are you going to do here? Josh Byrne, you're 0-2 in the finals. I'm sorry, you're 0-3 in the finals with Dane Smith. You're 0-2 in the finals with Josh Byrne. 0-3 in the finals in Steve Priolo. Man, Vince, you're 0-2 since joining Buffalo. It was all these 0-4 something numbers with the Buffalo Bandits, and it's can they finally get over that hump? And then game 3 comes, and it's 13-4 victory over Colorado, and they're just that whole second half was like a party. And it was when Max Adler scored that goal, and I will stay on this record forever. That was the loudest that arena has ever been. And yeah, it was loud when Connor Farrell scored last year, but it just put everything over the top. And I remember having this conversation with you of, okay, when did it really set in that they were going to win it? And it was after Max Adler won the faceoff, goes down, beats Dylan Ward. And I'm like, that's when I knew, that's when the entire arena knew, and that's when everything popped off, because you had been waiting how many years? 15 years for your last championship. And that's kind of what really did it. But I guess what were any other thoughts you got on this one besides, we were harping on Dane Smith. When are you finally going to get it done? He sets the playoff point record with 49 points, 34 assists, 15 goals. I mean, this was the finals where Josh Byrne has that concussion and he doesn't play in games 1 and game 2. He finished with 33 in the playoffs. You have Ananico putting up 23. You have Kluch putting up 30. McKay puts up 16 in the playoffs. And then Matt Vince just turns around and goes 882 goals against, average an 83 save percentage in the playoffs. Just, again, cranks up the numbers here and gets Buffalo their first title since 2008.
And I'm pretty sure, as we discussed it, Vince continues to somehow get better than those ridiculous playoff numbers. I mean, the season, first off, still got chills thinking about all of that. And I think that's a big reason of why we're kind of going back and looking at these. I mean, yes, every single championship since then has been a lot of fun, but don't forget, where they were not that long ago, and even just the magical run that they are on. It's really fun to go back and kind of relive these moments. But Fraser's 4 games, he was injured most of the season. Kluch's 9 games, he was injured for most of the season. And Byrne had that mini injury during the season and then came back for playoffs. And like you said, got the concussion. Was he going to come out and play in that final game? And he was like, I don't even have a player comparison, but like him being announced for that lineup, like I remember being so nervous thinking about, like, it was so late that they said that Byrne was finally going to be active for that game. And I remember that whole week there was no real information, and then finally, like, seeing that he was active was just so exciting. And then him coming out and having the incredible game that he had for that final game, it was just like everything you wanted in a Josh Byrne. Like, okay, he's frustrated. He's not helping his team. It's game 3. He's going to do whatever he can to be out there. He is out there, and then puts up the performance he did. It was just one of those, like, magical, see him come on the floor, like, oh my gosh, he's back. And then it was, party after that. And like you said, the way they won that one, not only game 3, but having it be a blowout, not be close, I think was just that much more exciting because you did get to party pretty much the entire fourth quarter. And for a team that had waited 14 years for the last championship, I rather had it be a blowout than a really close nail biter, like nervous to the end, where you could just kind of let it settle in, sink in, and just enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy everything that was happening, and really have fun with your first championship in a very, very long time.
Yeah, just to clean this up, this was the second straight year that Dane Smith sets a assist record with 96.
Not a big deal.
Yeah, a year before that, where they lose in the finals to Colorado, was 94. This year, 96. Stay tuned for that one.
He's only an average player.
This is the part where I kind of go over some names and bring back memories of these certain players. Carter McKenzie, he was on the team back then. Kellen LeClaire, he had that short stint where Buffalo traded I have the trade. Where was it? They traded picks to Calgary for Kellen LeClaire and then just dropped him. Yes, I know he wanted to go back west, but you couldn't have got.
I really wanted
couldn't got pennies.
Devin Maya to play.
Yeah, he's still out there. The rights are still with Buffalo. I
Who was
believe.
the Calgary? He wasn't the Calgary captain, was he?
No, he's yet to play in.
Who was the Calgary guy we got that I was jazzed about, and then he was on the holdout list
and
never played?
Who was it?
I was really excited.
I'll look it up. I still have his name somewhere. Actually, I could pull it up right now. Sorry.
He was a defender, and he was coming in, and I was excited. I was like, oh, that's a big name, some solid defender coming in, and he went on the holdout list, and we never saw him once.
Greg Hurnett.
There it is. I was really excited when he came over, and I was like, oh, we didn't play. Okay.
He didn't get a single second of time, but and then the last one, Joel Taylor. Practice squad. I think he saw one game of action, working his way back from all the stuff he had to work his way back from. We'll move forward. Next season, all the expectations are, okay, you got the one out of the way. You're coming in favorites now. Now what happens? And you go 11-7 on the season. It's like, okay, a lot happened this season. 237 goals for, though. 13.17 goals for. Imagine what happens when you have your whole forward group there. 212 goals against, 11.78 goals against average. That was the year they did not have a first-round pick, but they drafted Evan C. in the second round, their first pick of that draft. In the offseason, Nate K., Kuznetsnikov, never have to pronounce his name again. He goes out the door in a 3-team deal that brings in Steve Orleman. Remember, that was the start, where they had 3 active goalies, and you're going absolutely insane because you also had Evan C. in the practice squad. And you're going, okay, and that's when everybody's going, okay, this is the heir apparent for Matt Vince. And you and I are going, okay, let's see what the preseason starts with. And Devlin Shanahan was the number 2 to start. We have to remember that. Did he end up losing that job? Yes. But to start, Phil and I were correct that they knew what Shanahan was. Could Orleman still be the heir apparent? Yeah. And Steve Orleman goes in the Vancouver game, relieves Devlin Shanahan, who I thought played real bad in that one, although he didn't get help from the defense. And then he kind of just took over and ran with that one. But, they start the season with a 1-2 start. They were 5-6 after the loss to Vancouver. And then they go 6-1 run. And that was the year, Brad McCulley goes out the door. He gets traded to Vancouver for picks, and we're sitting there just going, like, what do they know that we don't know? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Brandon Robinson comes in, kind of relieves that loss that Brad McCulley left open, and then the whole back end. This was the season. I apologize. The season before was forwards. This season was the injuries on the back end. You trade picks for Corey Keifield, and Phil's up in arms about this whole trade. Why are you overpaying for Corey Highfield? And he comes in and does the job. Then you send picks at the deadline for Paul Dawson, and you and I are up in arms going, this is not the defender that you need. What is going on here? And then you sign Connor Farrell. Okay, you get a Fogo. Whoop-de-doo. And then they just go and just run through the playoffs like it's nothing. I guess this was the season which you're going, man, what the heck is going on with this team? And we even said going into that Vancouver one, like flying home, that was a long flight, and players went on record saying that flight kind of like shook everything out, and there was heated arguments and like deep conversations of what type of team do we want to be? And then they go an 11-1 run through the entire playoffs as well and bring home that championship in a sweep.
Yeah, this one was a weird season.
Yeah.
I remember you and I had not talk ourselves off, but we had to talk a lot of Bandits fans off the ledge for, like you said, the first half of it when they were 5-6. The whole time, it felt like, okay, this team for the most part is still together. They're still here. It's still the core. Everything's there. Give it time. Like, whatever they are trying to figure out, whatever's going on, give them time to figure it out. It's still the championship team. Everyone's still here. You still got Matt Vince. Like, they're fine. Give them time. And the biggest thing that you and I kept saying when they were 5-6 was like, get to playoffs. I don't care what happens. Make playoffs. Like, we weren't thinking 1 seed. We weren't thinking 2 seed, 3 seed. It didn't really matter. At that point, I do remember you and I had a big conversation after that game of, I was still on, you didn't care about it, but I was like, all right, I still think they can get a home playoff game to start it. And you were like, I don't, just make playoffs. I don't think they can get it. It's too late in the season. There was a lot that had to happen in their favor. They had to go on this big run. And you were like, don't worry about the home playoff game. I was like, no, they're still going to get a home playoff game. It's fine. They got the home playoff game to start the series. It did work out. But at
I believe
that time,
it was in
like,
the last game of the season,
yeah,
too.
it was,
Things still needed to transpire for them to get that.
Very, very close. But that was like the discussions we were having when they were 5-6. Like, that's not typical of a team that was recently 14-4. Most of the seasons before that, they had a very consistent 14-4 record. I think this season I predicted them to go 15-3 because they kept going 14-4 over and over. And I was like, all right, just get one more win, one less loss. You're there. It's not a big deal. They went 11-7, but the fact that we were having that conversation when they were 5-6 was just like, we still had faith in them to possibly win the championship at that point. It was just make playoffs, and it was a weird spot to be in for a team that had been so dominant during the season, had been to 3 straight finals at that point, to see them struggling the way they did. But like we've said plenty of times, I think that struggling got them to where they needed to be. Like you said, they had that big conversation, we think, after that game. Paul Dawson comes in, also is a very big veteran leader and veteran talker in that locker room. And even he's gone on record saying, like, when he came over, he's like, okay, I don't know what's going on with this team, but they're going to figure it out. They got the pieces. Like, this team's good. I'm happy to be here. They will figure it out. They have everybody they need. They just need to figure it out, and they did, and he was a big part of that. And then they went on to, like you said, 11-1 run, swept the playoffs, and absolutely dominated from there on out. But this playoffs and this championship was the one that, to me, Albany was what the Bandits were to Calgary. I think Albany was to Buffalo, where it was a strange finals where I really wasn't concerned all that much the whole time. I really thought Buffalo was just the superior team. Anything can happen. Albany made it to the finals and got through some pretty stiff competition to get there, but it really, to me, wasn't that big of a deal. Facing Albany just wasn't as tense as it was for Colorado. But I think the biggest thing we remember about that playoffs, which everyone still talks about and you and I bring up all the time when the next playoffs come around, is the 10-9 overtime victory over Georgia. I mean, you were 1 goal away from being knocked out in the first round and not even going any further, let alone the finals, let alone a championship. So we bring that up every single time when it comes back to playoffs and they go to that one and done round 1 playoff. And even this last one ended up being 5-3. Like, that first
5-4,
game is,
but yes.
Well, yeah. Essentially 5-3. Yes. That 5-4
it was
whatever.
5-3,
But even that, I mean, even if final score is 5-4, like, that first round is just, it's scary. It's very scary. And that was a very, very, I still can picture, without even having to watch any highlights, Josh Burns' goal and just the relief you felt when he scored. They're like, oh my gosh, they advanced.
Yeah, and just looking back at the regular season, this was the second straight year they open with Albany, and they lose this one 17-13, and the sky is falling once again. Like, Bandits fans, to their credit, they are the best fans in the NLL. I don't think there's any debating that whatsoever. But, man, are they emotional after losses. They cannot handle losses. And that 17-13 loss, I remember I had to stay off all social media, off all line. I'm like, I can't take this. They're all like, Matt Vince is cooked. He shouldn't have came back for another season.
First game of the season.
It's insane. And then they do go 0-2 versus Albany in that regular season. And then you get to the playoffs. And for some reason, we were both going like, I don't really, at least I was. I went, I don't know what it is, but if Buffalo can play smart and stay out of the box, they can beat Albany. If they just do not outsmart them, I don't know what it is with Alex Simmons. I don't know what it is with Lee Storos. They just seem to get under the skin of Buffalo, and Buffalo just can't stay out of the penalty box. In the playoffs, they ended up doing it, but remember, I remember sitting at Tap That Tap Room, another shout out to them, versus the Halifax game, 14-12 loss, where they pull Warren Hill, Dylan Hutchison goes in, and we're going, how can't you beat a backup goaltender here? And then flash forward to the next season, and he ends up beating Warren Hill out for the starting position middle of the season. And then they lose to Albany the second time, 13-10. And then they go to Vancouver, and that's the game, I believe Steve Orleman played that one because Matt Vince was hurt. And then, flash forward, they beat the Rush 15-14. They beat Toronto 14-12. Yeah, they do drop one in Panther City to overtime, but you were starting to see, okay, they're starting to figure this out. And then they go on that 4-game run to end it.
That 4-game run to end it was like the scores.
It was massive. That's when you're starting to figure it out, and that's when it's like, okay, they're back. They're good. They figured this out. That flight to Vancouver was a massive break, and I know we keep bringing that up, but between that, trading for Paul Dawson, and them having won this season before, it's like, okay, guys, we're good. We've been there. Let's figure this out. Sometimes we're being too unselfish. Sometimes we're being too selfish. They figured it out. The defense started getting healthy. Matt Vince started coming back. Like, all the pieces started coming back together. And I think that's one of the other arguments where we were saying, like, they haven't had the consistent defense this entire season.
Yep.
Like, the players that are in front of Matt Vince right now are not the same players that were in front of Matt Vince the year before, or the game before. And you also had Steve Orleman mixed in there, so they didn't have a collective unit there. And then you already mentioned the Georgia game, and I remember Josh Byrne was literally right in front of where our seats are when he scored that one. It was a big collective sigh of relief when he puts that in. Then you get Toronto, 12-4 win at home, 10-8 win in Toronto, and then you see who you got in the finals. And give Albany credit, that final game in Game 2, it ended up being 15-13, but it was such a close back-and-forth game where it wasn't like the year before in Game 3 where everybody was able to party the whole second half. It was up until the final minutes. It was very, very nerve-wracking. But I will give you credit for this because you mentioned your bold prediction the year before. I'm giving you full flowers here. You also said this season, preseason, it's on. We have graphics of it. We have recordings of it. Phil said that Josh Byrne would have more points than Dane Smith this season. Did it by 1, but the record still stands. Phil called that one perfectly.
And it wasn't even close the year before. It was 132-93. So that was going to be Josh Byrne's coming out party. Was going to be that season. He was on the rise. He was finally healthy, and then bang, beats him. And then the following year, which we'll get to, pretty much the exact same thing. The fact that they are that consistent at that many points, it's disgusting.
Yeah, wrapping this one up. Again, Matt Vince does even better than he did the year before, 8.29 goals against and an 84 save percentage in the playoffs. After his numbers
matters.
his numbers ballooned a little bit in the regular season. 11.34 goals against and a 78 save percentage. And I still remember, as I'm going through these numbers again, I still remember having so many fights with other Bandits fans just going, it's because of the defense in front of him. He doesn't have consistent players in front of him. He's got rookies in Belter and Wires. I don't think we mentioned them when they stepped up in the playoffs. That was a big addition. And trial by fire with Cam Wires. He was on the penalty kill because Bryce Sweeting was out the entire season. We're like, what is going on here? And you wanted to pull him. I wanted to pull him. We were both going back and forth with him in his rookie season. Belter coming in big after he got finally healthy into that one. That's the next wave of the young crops in there. I don't know why we waited so long to add them to that. But Dane Smith, third straight season assist. And I did call this one. I said Dane Smith will have over 100 assists. So we're nailing these bold predictions. 101. He also set playoff assist record for the all-time in the playoffs. Just ridiculous. And then Josh Byrne wins MVP and the first ever Offensive Player of the Year. And Phil, players, Emerson Clark. He was on the team. Remember him?
Sadly.
Christian Watts, your boy. He's
got a real attitude problem.
Corey Highfield. We already went over him in the trade. You hated the deal. He's got a ring, and then Frank Brown was also still on the team then before he got hurt once again. But Phil, that wraps up their back-to-back championships. Now, it's when all the pressure, and allegedly they never use the term three-peat. Maybe that's because Pat Riley has the trademark. Maybe that's just a bunch of baloney. They didn't actually talk about it. But they finished 13-5 the following season. They do even better on offense, 242 goals for on the season, which was 13.45. Yep. Number 1 in the league. And then goals against, 195. They do even better back there, 10.83 goals against. Phil, this was the first season we lose a team, though. Panther City drops out. Dispersal draft happens. Buffalo trades their pick in that to Philly for a future second-round pick, which came in this coming season, which we'll talk about, and I guess we already talked about it. I believe they drafted, that was Coltrane. It was the pick that they got from Philly, so Coltrane goes picks with that one.
Excited to see him.
Yeah, and this was another season where they have 3 first-round picks, and you and I are going back and forth going, this is win now. Matt Vince comes back. Don't use all 3. And they use all 3. Lucas Nielsen goes 7th. Luca Anton Giovanni goes 8th. Taylor Dooley goes 15th. And an early second-round pick, they also use that one in, Trent Robertson. Off-season, they trade Brandon Robinson out the door to Rochester for Thomas Whitty. You and I remember going back and forth going, what are they doing at the left forward position? And then they find out it's going to be Ian McKay. And you and I are still going, that's a stupid decision. You ruined this offense. Why are you bringing in Ian McKay up there? He's so critical for the transition rule. It wasn't us doubting what Ian McKay could do. I don't think anybody thought he could do what he did, scoring as many goals as he did. But we were going, okay, you just had Josh Byrne have an MVP offensive player type of season. He just came out and showed everybody what he can do, and the player that helped him get there, you just shipped out the door for Thomas Whitty. What the heck is going on? You trade Justin Robinson. It was the Robinsons are out the door. They're not coming to. It's not Robinson's coming home. Robinson's out the door. Ottawa for a pick. They bring in Clay Scanlon. That was a piece that we were talking about. That okay, don't shy away from Clay Scanlon. He was an early free agency addition to this team. They have something in that. It was just, I remember that whole offseason just going like, what are they doing to this offense? What are they doing to this left forward position? And egg on our face, Phil. Wipe that off.
Yeah, we own it when it needs to be owned. We got our great bowl predictions the year before, and these these takes while they were happening live didn't pan out great, but it panned out great for the Bandits.
In theory, it made sense what we were arguing back then.
Oh, absolutely.
Looking back, horrible takes.
Yes, and that is why they run the organization and know what they're doing. I mean, we'll see on these draft picks. I don't know. Nielsen seems pretty good. Anton Giovanni, we'll see if he ever suits up in a Buffalo Bandits uniform. Dooley was all right, and Robertson, we'll see if he comes back. So wouldn't have minded using one of those for players, but at the same time, like we always say, for the last 6-7 years, their roster is stacked and has no room for anybody. But going into the season, there were a lot of question marks for us. I mean, the biggest thing was the forwards, like you just mentioned. Like Byrne had this amazing season. Brandon Robinson's your big lane setter over there that helped clear a lot of lanes for Byrne, helped get him open, and then also had some magical goals of his own. I really liked watching that big man move. But then they get rid of him, and their big plan we thought was Ian McKay going up, and even that I think it was speculation at the time by us. We just kind of thought like it's either Scanlon or they're going to try.
They
McKay
brought in Tate Katoni. I remember that one. They brought in a bunch of players trying. It almost felt like they knew they wanted to do Ian McKay, but if one of these guys stepped up, we don't have to do it. And I think the only thing that really solidified it was when Ian McKay was on Off the Crossbar with Pat and Teddy, and he kind of said, like, yeah, I'm going to be lefty. We were supposed to do it the year before, but all the back-end injuries, I couldn't do it. I'm going to be a full-time forward here. And we're all like, that's when we both go, like, this was a mistake. Like, they shouldn't be doing this. And then, yeah.
It worked out amazing.
Yeah. We're happy we were wrong.
Yes. I mean, I and the defense definitely didn't struggle by any means, but I still...
They lost that aspect of their game.
Yeah, I would say it's such a tough call because obviously McKay did absolutely amazing on offense and was a playoff MVP. He's really, really, really good, but the problem with him being so good is that he's so good across the board. He's an amazing defender, amazing transition player, and amazing forward, so there's no wrong place to put him, but that also makes it tough because you want him literally everywhere. Like when they took him from the defense, I was like, all right, that's fine, but he's also one of your best defenders in general. Like not just... I want him back there. He's amazing back there, but he also ended up being amazing on off. He's really good at lacrosse. Really happy the Bandits had that bad season we talked about and were able to draft him. But it was good. It was obviously a very, very good season. It was a little bit more of a dominant season than they had previously. I mean, even 2 overtime losses are part of their 5 losses. I mean, this season was you had your dominant season 2 seasons ago, but then you had the riskier playoffs where they went to game 3. Then you had your struggle season with the Albany series, and then the Albany series went really well. In playoffs, you swept, and you had the amazing finish to that season. This one seemed like a full, complete, great in the season, great in playoffs, and just kind of took it all together. And Josh Byrne, Dane Smith, we talk about it all the time. They're Buffalo Bandits, which is why we talk about it all the time. But they're really, really, really good at lacrosse. For them both to be at 134 points is absolutely insane. But, I mean, outside of Ian McKay being the big talking point, this one was also about your veterans coming back. Was this offseason? Is Dawson going to come back in this season? Is Buchanan going to come back? I mean, everyone seems to be at that one step at a time. Even Matt Vince, yes, he had a contract, but PK had to do all these things in the offseason to get him to come back one more season. And it was just...
I get no thanks. It's a thankless job.
It was just never confirmed. You know, until it wasn't, and we were worried.
There was a lot of speculation when they weren't making any moves at the position. That's when I was like, okay, I can stop offering so many of my services. He accepted it. But yeah, it was a most
of the summer. It was like, yes, he's signed, but he could retire whenever he wants, and he easily could have. But my goodness, thank goodness, he did not do that. Really, really amazing series. And then even the finals, a lot of fun. Saskatchewan and the back and forth. Like, I guess we can ask you now. Colorado finals, I think, is always going to be number one because they won it for the first time forever. So that series excluded. Between Albany and Saskatchewan, I would assume you liked the Rush finals better.
Yeah, by far.
Yeah, I think just the back and forth between the teams, how evenly matched the two teams were. Some of the social media stuff, which to me is a lot of fun, and then
I love it.
Fantastic blowout win to end it was also really good.
Yeah, I mean, the midseason acquisition, we all knew it was coming. Like, I mean, for the past 2 seasons, he brings in Adam Bomberry. He's an integral piece in the finals. You bring in Paul Dawson, integral piece in the finals. You bring in Kyle Matisse, that we finally get him, Phil. We finally get him, and Ron John, big pieces to that championship run. And yeah, I know Kyle Matisse does get hurt. He ends up making his way back in, but this was the season that that's why I kind of like going down memory lane, because in the moment doing this right now, I remember certain things, and I remember them starting off and going 7-0, and them it's not like they took the foot off the gas and everybody started saying like they're taking the foot off the gas. I'm like, no, they can turn it on when they need to. This was like, I kept referencing the Kansas City Chiefs, and I kept saying they're good. Like, they're very good. They're fine. Like, there's no issues whatsoever. They know to turn it on when they have to turn it on. And you saw that in the end stretch where, okay, Saskatchewan's getting a little too close. Then they take down Saskatchewan 9-7 in Saskatchewan. And then it's like, okay, it's coming a little bit more. And then you win over Colorado and Halifax. And then that final game versus Georgia, it did not matter. And everybody's freaking out. You lose going into the playoffs. Then it's the hell. They face San Diego, who is the best number 8 seed that has ever been a number 8 seed. They win 5-4 in the finals, and
worst draw
in the round 1. And then you draw Vancouver, and we're like, God, what did Buffalo do? Like, they coasted all the regular season, and now they're coming back. And then you get Saskatchewan in the finals, and we were all excited to see Saskatchewan because it's number 1-2 seed versus number 2 seed, and you were very happy about that. And then you get the 15-6 win in game 3, but you also get Dane Smith, another breaking his own assist record for the 4th straight season with 102. Paul Dawson absolutely shatters the block assist record, which you called. I don't think you called 53, but he shatters that record.
Smith gets 50 plus.
I don't remember what you exactly called, but I remember you said he was going to break
40 plus or
record.
50 plus.
I think it was 40.
It was one of them. It might have been 40 plus, and I shattered that.
Smith breaks the most points in playoff history of all time. He also wins the 2nd ever Offensive Player of the Year. So it's Buffalo's award. Bucky wins Sportsman Player of the Year. I think that's the biggest upset because Lyle didn't win it. And then my bold prediction was John Gertler was going to win the Media Person of the Year. He does it finally. That's my bold prediction that I'm so happy I nailed. But yeah, I loved going down these memory lanes, especially the three-peat. And I will say, and you asked that question, Albany is the most forgettable back-to-back championship out of the three. I don't understand why. Maybe because it didn't go to Game 3, but I always have to remember that one actually happened rather than Colorado and Saskatchewan one. I know Saskatchewan's probably because it's most recent memory, and Colorado was the first. Maybe that's the more reason, but yeah, that's the one I forget about the most.
I feel like Albany just wasn't as intense as the other two. Like Colorado was obviously the huge one. That one doesn't need to be talked about. But like you said, with Saskatchewan, it was the 1-2 punch. Like all season, it was Buffalo, Saskatchewan. Who's going to finish first? Who's going to finish second? Even their big midseason game was like all the hype. Like, okay, these are the top two teams in the league going at it middle of the season. Who's going to have the edge? And that edge could end up being what gets them to the first seed or second seed. And it ended up mattering a lot. And that was a huge game. So it was just the whole season was those two at the very top all year long, and then they finally got to the finals and got to see that. So I think it was just like a full year build of that, whereas Albany and Buffalo was like Albany kind of like, we're here. I don't know, it didn't feel as great as this one did. But this road, I know Toronto has been very tough the two previous championships. And every single time the Bandits have had to get there,
it's been the first season and how long you hadn't go through.
Right, they didn't go through Toronto. And those were always like really interesting and a lot of fun. But like the one against Colorado, I thought was a pretty easy path. I mean, Rochester they demolished. Toronto's not easy, but they handled business like it was nobody's problem. Georgia, that was the really tough one where they almost lost, and then the two Toronto ones were closer, and then the Albany win. But this one, to me, was just a pure gauntlet test of you have to beat the best to be the best all the way through. Round 1, round 2 in the finals was, like, to me,
I mean, just look at the goaltenders. You had to go through O'Rig, then you had to go through Christian Del Bianco, then you had to go through Frank Scigliano, who was the goaltender of the year. It was a gauntlet of just goaltenders before you even look at the rest of the players.
Right, and even though San Diego, like you said, was an 8 seed, like those easily could be, with Buffalo, the top 4 teams in the league. And you had to go through all of them to get to the finals and then win the finals. So I think as far as like a finals just overall playoff run goes, this was the biggest test of teams, and they did a really nice job working all their way through it.
Yeah, the only other thing I'll add, because I went over his numbers the previous two finals, Vince outdid himself once again, 5-1, 7.17 goals against, and 85 save percentage. He allowed 4 goals one game, 3 goals another, 9, and then 6 in the finals. Ridiculous. You haven't lost a step. Please come back. I guess that's how I'll end it.
I mean, 882 and 83% in the first win, 829 against and 84% in the second championship win, and then 717, 85% in the third championship win.
He got better with age.
Yeah, if he comes back, it should be under 7 goals against an 86% save percentage. If the
try to come
numbers
back.
just
try to
keep
do
going.
that again, Matt Vince. You can't do it. There's no way you can put up those numbers that are better for the fourth straight season.
Wink.
Yeah. You're not Dane Smith. You can't do it, coward. Am I going too far? Going too far. But this will conclude our reliving the past for the Buffalo Bandits. Phil, hats off to you. This was a great idea. Absolutely loved it. Based on the numbers that came back, I think the fans are loving it as well, because this is one of the the numbers always dip off in the off season because a lot of Bandits fans just aren't paying attention as much. But this at part 1 was a big hit. Everybody seemed to love it. Part 2, I think they're going to love it even more because it was memory lane of victories rather than just sad defeats. But hats off to you. I absolutely loved it. Next episode, we'll be going over the CBA talk. Sad tears. Maybe it's just all talk. Maybe it's not. Who knows? But it's coming from both sides. And then we'll go over the schedule. We'll also go over Bills versus Saints. And one more week before we have to talk a little bit about the Sabres. Whoop-de-doo. I don't know. I'm wearing a Sabres hat. I'm rooting you on just because I haven't worn this hat in a while. And I love the goat head. But that will conclude this episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. So thank you for listening to it. Thank you to Tap That Tap Room for sponsoring this episode and this podcast. Why is this not playing, Phil? There we go. Now the outro is playing. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at Buffalo Sports Collective. Maybe by next week we'll have some refresh of it. Follow our channel wherever there's a podcast, and make sure you leave us that review on Apple and Spotify. Until next time, Bye-bye.